Hey guys, it's Gardiner of Aspiire here, and today I'm going to demystify the home purchase process and the finance steps that go alongside it. As a homeowner, I knew that there was only a certain amount that I could absorb from like a website or just a listing of these key things. I really needed someone to add a bit more colour and insight around what are the steps and how does it all come together, and who are the people involved. So I'll take you through those steps, and one of the things that I want to do, obviously as a mortgage broker, is show you the corresponding finance step that either we as a mortgage broking office are doing behind the scenes, or you as a customer get involved in that financial step. So it's important to understand both sides of that, because as you know, getting a mortgage alongside that house is pretty much what enables the whole process to happen. So all right, without further ado, we'll dive into it. Over here is the finance track, and over here is the house track. So I'll go through each step. Now, first on, you're pretty much starting with a rough idea that now is the right time for you to start looking seriously at a house. It could be because you're coming up to a key milestone. For me, it was coming up to the age of 30. I always knew that I wanted to buy a property, and I'd put it off for so long, just procrastinating, letting my savings dry up or get diverted to other things. But I thought, look, it's time to get something to show for this money that I'm earning. So a house is what I needed as a milestone. So for me, it was an age-driven thing. For you, it could be similar. Who knows? But we've all got those key motivating factors. Anyway, you got your rough idea. That could be what's led you to me to make an inquiry. It could be that you're seeing me on a news feed or on YouTube, or an ad or whatever. But that finance inquiry is what could put you and I in touch. So it's important to make that first step so that you can get some assistance. And a mortgage broker like Aspiire, who supports a lot of people, a lot of professionals, would love to hear from you. So do drop us an inquiry. The next step is really integral in terms of your enabling you to go and purchase a property. It's, will a bank lend you money to go and get that purchase? So you need to start with a pre-approval. The risk of starting shopping with a pre-approval is pretty much, you're probably going to waste a lot of time. You could be looking in areas which don't actually fit your budget. So you could be looking in an A grade area, but you've only got a B grade budget. Most people want to get a firmer sense for how much they can afford. So it's important to start with a pre-approval from a time-based perspective. The other key area, which usually doesn't bite people in the bum too often, which is they've gone out and bid on a property, but they don't have their finance in place. Now, I'm taking it for granted that you're smarter than that, and that you're just, up at this early stage. So that's the right time to get a pre-approval. Of course, so make an inquiry, then we move on to the pre-approval step. And what we're going to do as a finance office, we are going to be doing calculations behind the scenes. We take on all your details, like your name, date of birth, where you work, how much deposit you've got saved, etc., etc. All those key variables, we call it part of the fact-finding process. And we also understand what you're looking to do. You could be on the fence as to whether you want to do an investment or do your first home. But you may have a firm idea that, yep, this is going to be our first home. So we take direction from you on what your goal is, and then we help you work out what are the ideal scenarios around that. So that really comes down with calculations. We need to know your income. We need to know your statement of your statement of position, which is your all your assets, liabilities, income, and expenses. They're key bits of data on which we do our due diligence to come up with a firm opinion on what banks will be able to lend you. And of course, we scour the market for you to save you the time of having to go from A to B and back to Z and etc., etc., to have a look at all these places that are offering home loans. We make the process heaps simpler by bringing forward the best, most suitable deals for you. So based on who's appearing most suitable in the market in terms of lenders and banks and so forth, we pre-assess you on those lenders' criteria. Basically, we're using a system and a tool that reflects what the banks will view as their rules internally. So if you're looking at Westpac, for instance, we've got access to all the Westpac stuff that helps them make decisions in the credit assessment department. So that means we pre-assess you based on Westpac's criteria or ING's criteria or ANZ's criteria. So all those good banks and lenders out there, we make sure that they're going to give you the green light before we put it into them. That saves you a lot of time, obviously, but it also saves your credit score too. So pre-assessment is important. So you can see that there's quite a lot of work here that goes into getting you this pre-approval. We also collect your key documents like your IDs, pay slips, statement of your account, for instance, for your where your deposits saved. And overall, what comes out the other end of that is your budget. So what is your house buying budget? And to work out that figure, we take into account things like stamp duty, the total cost of the loan. We take into account any first home buyers grants that you may be eligible for in any state. So we work out the complete picture and we show you a maximum level, or if you're looking for just a certain range, like, you know, we want to buy in such and such an area and the average house price is 900k, well then we set up a structure so that we achieve 900k. But if you're looking for your maximum, and you know your maximum could be above $1 million or it could be more like 700, who knows, but we help you work that out as to what's achievable. Then we go and get that sorted. We go and get that in paper, in writing from the bank, and you're now in a position to really go ahead and move on to the next step, which is all around your research and your house hunting. So your research, you're probably looking through websites like Domain and Real Estate, and you're trying to figure out, you know, what properties can I buy. Townhouses are another good option. So there are plenty of townhouses that could fit your bill too. So do your research, and how we can support you doing that research while you're doing the house hunting is we can provide core logic, RP data, property reports. So if you've got a particular address that you're looking at bidding on or making an offer on, and you want to figure out, look, is this in my budget, or what's a fair price for this house, send us the address details. We'll be able to look it up in the RP data system. We've got a professional subscription to that. It's exactly the type of subscription that a real estate office would use. So a real estate office, to give their client a guide on how much the house is going to sell for, they use this tool as their analysis database. We've got access to that. So any address that you're looking at, let us know. We'll get some research reports done for you. So that makes you the most informed that you can be around buying your house, because obviously your house or your investment property that you're going to buy is a big deal. So and you're talking in the hundreds of thousands. So even a small saving can be a few grand. So it's important that you've got that information. Now over here in the orange, I've notified that by this stage we'll be dealing with real estate agents. So they're another party who will be involved in the home loan process. So as we go through, I'll point out other people that'll become involved to help you carry through the steps to completion. So a real estate agent comes involved there. You're doing your research, you're going to open for inspections, you're inspecting houses. That's all part of your research and house hunting. Next you move on to stage 4, which is around bidding and making offers. So you've pretty much narrowed your search down, and you've seen a couple of houses that seem to fit the bill. You've got a sense for what's affordable. You've got a sense for what sold last week for what price. So you should be starting to work out, all right, you know, let's aim for this street or this couple of auctions coming up. Basically, you'll be making a short list. So you're going to be attending those shortlist auctions or private sales, and the key document that you're going to be looking for here is a contract of sale, and this is a formal legal document which says that you the buyer are formally buying it from the seller, the vendor, and that's where everything comes together, and you both parties signing that for a dollar amount and for a settlement time are the 4 bits of information that really need to appear on that document to be sort of signed, sealed and delivered. So there's the vendor, the person that's selling, the buyer or the purchaser, which would be you. There's the settlement time, which would be a time in the future, usually at 30, 45, 60 or 90 days into the future. And lastly, the consideration, which is basically the price, how much you're buying it for. And that's the things that are going to appear in that contract of sale. The real estate agent will provide you a contract of sale. So if you're serious in one of these houses, all you need to do is ask the real estate agent, hey, Mr. Agent, can I have the contract of sale for this property? And they'll send it over to you by PDF, or in the open for inspections, you'll see printed copies, usually on the kitchen table of the house that they're selling, and just pick up a printed copy, have a look through. Those 4 those obviously the settlement and the price fields will be left blank. It's essentially a template until someone brings those details into it. Anyway, I hope that's made more sense around that actual contract of sale. You're going to need to get some legal support here to help you with that contract of sale, and that's where one of the next people comes in. So it's a conveyancer, and a conveyancer is usually a solicitor, someone with the ability to practice law, and usually conveyancers just specialise in property transactions. What their work will centre on is that contract of sale, and also a transfer of title and some mortgage documents in the background. So, but first up, what you want to get them to do for houses that you're really interested in is you send the conveyancing firm your contract of sale, get them to look over it and get them to essentially legally review it. And what they'll do is they'll point out any things that you should be aware of in the contract, like is there some work that had some permits on it recently? Does the council have an access point on your property? Has something happened with the body corporate recently? There's sometimes little things that a good conveyancer will call out for you, so that you're aware of them, okay? And we've got preferred conveyancers that we work with, so and what we're looking for a conveyancer is good value. We generally want them in that $800 to sort of $900 range. That seems to be about fair price for most straightforward property transactions. So, and then good service. So you want them to be able to do service turnarounds really quickly, because sometimes you want them to review it prior to going to auction that Saturday. So quick turnaround is important. And you also want maybe a bit of digital service, so you can interact with them over email or over a good website. So that's what I look for in my conveyancer. So if you want access to the guy that I use, let me know. I'll be happy to put you in touch with Kim and the team there. And as you go through and make bids and offers, you could actually be going to an auction, obviously, on a Saturday. So we all know how auction processes work. It's the highest bidder on the day, and you then sign a contract of sale. In the offer process, very similar. You make an offer and end up negotiating and eventually signing a contract of sale. So that sums up step 4, bids and offers. It's worth doing some reading on this on the Consumer Affairs website for your state. You just obviously do a Google search and a lot of information will come up on some of the legalese around it. So it's outside of the scope of what I can go into here, but it's something to put in your armoury. And by the way, the conveyancer will help you, and I'll help you along the way if you've got any questions as we go through the process. As you've confirmed in the contract of sale that you're going to buy this place, and let's say for argument's sake you've purchased it for 900 grand, the bank who you're getting the lending from will want to also value that property. So the bank will send around a valuer, which is person number 3 involved in this process, and the bank will send along that valuer. They'll do pretty much what it says on the tin. That valuer will produce for the bank a written report saying that yes, we do or do not believe that this house is worth 900 grand. Usually that comes back absolutely fine. It should come back spot on at 900k. And if there is any differences around that, then there's a challenge process that I can enter into on your behalf, in touch with the bank. So we've still got ways around that, even if that doesn't happen. But in about 98% of valuation cases, often it's absolutely fine, and the value comes back as signed up for at the auction or via the contract of sale and the bids and offer process. If you're having trouble throughout this process, a lifeline that you could call in would be a buyer's advocate. They can either help you by bidding at auction, doing a property research, negotiating directly with vendors or real estate agents on your behalf. So there's different things that they can offer you in terms of services, and they usually work on a percentage of the house's value. So the prices there would range from about 4 grand to 30 grand or more. And but if you're time pressured and you can fit that within your budget, a buyer's advocate could be a really good choice, and a lot of people are starting to use them. The next step here, so we've got our valuation, our conveyancer is happy with the report, we've bought the property, awesome, and the bank's happy with it too because they've valued it and they've obviously pre-approved you. That means that we've got a property to lend against. Now the whole concept of mortgage lending is that a bank goes and gives you a loan to buy that property. The bank's happy with that because it knows that it's got a good client. We've got your pre-approval. They know that you're a worthy person to give a loan to, and they're happy that there's actually something backing the loan, and that thing backing the loan obviously is the house. They're going to take basically a mortgage, which is a bit of paperwork, on the title of that property that you've just bought. So now that you've identified the property, it's time for those two things to come together, the pre-approval and the actual property, and that comes together in the loan pack that's going to be sent to you, or you and I will go through it together to sign it. So that comes to shape in the form of loan agreements, and that literally will be saying you, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, are going to borrow 800 grand from us, and you're going to pay that back over 30 years. That's what the loan agreement's obviously saying, pretty straightforward, and we've set it up as per our structure back here. As per the case with normal finance documents, you review them, you understand the terms and conditions, you understand the structure. You'll be signing off on the mortgage document that you're happy for the bank's mortgage to be on the title of your property that you've now proudly purchased and owned, and then you send those signed documents back to the bank. So there'll be all paper, requiring a wet signature. Then the bank will prepare to settle the loan. So for example's sake, let's say that your house is due to settle on the 30th of May because you've agreed a 30-day settlement with the vendor, and you purchased it on the 1st of May. So 30-day settlement, let's say it's settling on 30th of May. What the bank will do with your signed documents, they'll say, thank you for sending them back. We are now agreed as bank and borrower that you will be able to get this loan, and we'll get that into gear for you. And they'll be lining up their internal processing teams to go ahead, make all the necessary arrangements to settle that loan and have that, that 800 grand worth of loan money ready to send over to the solicitors and the bank representing the vendor who's selling you the property. So all of that's happening behind the scenes on your behalf, and between the bank, the conveyancers, the borrowers, etc., will be working out these details so that all the funds are ready on settlement day. And it's a combination of savings in your bank account, any bank checks that you need to draw, and lastly, the actual loan funds that are coming from the bank. So all of that comes together on settlement day, and it comes together to pay out the vendor that you're buying it from. And lastly, it's really the fun bit, where you can move in and enjoy it. So on the 30th of May, in our example, that's when we settle. You'll then rock on over to the real estate office and pick up your keys. They'll have probably some keys and a bottle of champagne waiting for you, and move into your place. It should be all nice and empty. We're just ready for all that new furniture and all that sort of stuff that you're going to move into the property. Hang up your paintings, make it yours. Figure out where you're going to put the TV on the wall, etc., etc. So that's kind of the fun part. And as you go through this, we'll send you some checklists so that you're prepared for every step of the way, including this moving step when you're going to be putting in utilities and getting some insurance on the property so that it, if heaven forbid it burns down, you've got insurance there, etc. So there's a few things to take care of, but I'm sure you've got the gist of it now. And lastly, then we as a finance office move into helping you get ready for that first payment. So we send you reminders around that, and we also have you in our aftercare program. So we don't want this just to be a one-time transaction. We want to help you in the long term, and we want to help you review this loan so that it remains an optimum loan for you, or if it's no longer the optimum fit, or rate or offer or whatever, that we proactively bring you a new offering that you're eligible for, or to help you take that next step, like a renovation, an investment property, or whatever it might be. So, and in that stage, the last couple of people that you might want to be in touch with, particularly if you're an investor, is an accountant who will help you prepare taxation returns which reflect that you've got an investment property now. And lastly, again, if you're an investor, you would want to get a quantity surveyor to look over the house and prepare you a depreciation schedule so that you can depreciate the dwelling and the assets on the dwelling because it's a depreciable eligible asset. Again, those two things are really more important if you've purchased for an investment. All right, guys, that's 6 steps. And we've gone through obviously the house buying side of things. We've gone through what we do as a finance office and all the financial steps per each stage, so you can see them matching up and mirroring what's going on. And lastly, in orange here, we've discussed the types of people that you'll want to have alongside you in the journey. Obviously ourselves as a brokerage firm, but a real estate agent will be there along the way, a valuer, a conveyancer, an accountant, and potentially a quantity surveyor if you're an investor. We can help you with all of this and help you navigate the questions along the way. But this, I hope, has been a really good primer so that you've got all the key details that you need to know. And thank you for watching. Please like or share this with anyone that you think it'll be really useful for. We always love being connected with new people, so thank you.